There's a lot of symbolism that is embedded into our architecture, and really it is that moment where all of the form serves a function, serves as a building structure, it serves as a home, it serves as a place, but it also reminds us of our ancient roots.
Most of our traditional dwellings for most of the tribes here in Oklahoma always face east. You'll see these beautiful stone walls as you walk into the main entrance of the museum, and those walls are made out of mescalbuck stone, and it's a stone that's quarried here in Oklahoma. And mescalbuck is a Potawatomi word, and it means amber light or amber glow. So when the sun rises in the east, it catches that morning light, and then there's this beautiful glow to the entrance of our museum. So that's how we welcome our visitors.
But more importantly, we called it the Remembrance Walls for a very specific reason, because this is a story that can only be told right here in this place. These Remembrance Walls remind us of those who have always been here, those who did not make it on very perilous journeys, and it also celebrates those of us that are here today because of resiliency and because of that steadfast hope and dream and desire to carry on so that, next generations could be here.
Being removed from our traditional homelands to Oklahoma was very devastating for most of the tribes. And there is some significance to the structure of the glass dome of the Hall of the People. There are 10 columns there, and those 10 columns are very intentional because as most of our tribes were marched from their homelands and escorted by the military, we averaged about 10 miles a day on foot being marched into Oklahoma. So those columns recognize those 10 miles a day that we were marched into Oklahoma.
We call it the Hall of the People with full intention, because many of us in our own native languages, as we refer to ourselves, when that is translated, it often translates to the people.
Now, most of the tribes that are here in Oklahoma are from someplace else. And if you were here 200 years ago along the watershed where the museum is at now, you would see villages of Wichita people.
The Caddo people have always been here, the Apache, the Tonkawa. So it was really important to acknowledge those who have always been here.
The architects created this modern version of a Wichita grass house. And so as you walk into the main building, you'll see this glass structure, and it's a contemporary version of a Wichita grass lodge or a grass house.
The architects once expressed that once they had come here and they had met with all of our tribal communities, there was so much vibrancy and there was so much what they recognized as artistic forms inherent in just our cultural lifeways. And so one of the things that they did in the Corten stele that is inside the Hall of the People is they created a very contemporary form, but that is inspired by basket weaving.
Now, the reason why we created the Mound is an homage to the people that have lived here for thousands of years. And one of the great civilizations in North America is right here in Oklahoma, Spiro Mounds. Spiro Mounds was larger than London in terms of population around the time of the first Europeans coming to the Americas. And so we want to honor our ancestors, but also remind people that we've been here. People have been here for thousands of years.
Many of us who are descendants of the Mississippian mound builders, myself included as a Muskogee citizen. We had a variety of different kinds of mounds for different purposes. Some were for religious purposes, some were to bury our loved ones, so they were funerary in nature. Our high priests had places atop some of our mounds. So these mounds were communities.
There's one feature of the mound that most people notice, and there's a giant tunnel that goes through the mound, and that tunnel is large enough to drive a fire truck or a semi-truck through. That tunnel is our winter solstice tunnel. So on the winter solstice of each year, on the shortest day, the sun will set perfectly within that tunnel.
If you stand in that exact same spot during the summer, during the time of the summer solstice, and you look over the top of the mound, you will see the sun setting at the top of the mound. If you turn and face the east during the vernal and autumnal equinox, you'll see the sun rising through the remembrance walls, or that east-facing entry. So when you look at the architecture from above, you will see these two concentric circles. And that's really symbolic, because you have this man-made architecture, and then you have this earthen architecture, which is the mound.
So you have the ancient world and you have the modern world intersecting each other at the Hall of the People. So it is pretty amazing. Just the grounds and the building and our site is something to see and experience, that giant cosmological clock. And so that's a way we mark time in an indigenous way.